We've got Oscars reactions, plus Aaron Pierre's John Stewart confirmed for Man of Tomorrow, and Dune 3 teaser trailer arrives. All that and more coming up right after this. Welcome to Multiverse News, your source for information about all your favorite fictional universes. My name's Matthew Carroll, and with me today on the panel we have Jay Sisson. What's happening, Jay Sisson?
Hey, doing all right. Back from the dead, like Gandalf the White style, and survived the flu.
We shall not pass.
I said that to my classes. I said back like Gandalf the White style because I missed so much school and they don't know what Lord of the Rings is. By the way, I'm sad to report that the youth think Lord of the Rings is an old guy movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, it's sad, but that's one of the reasons, we always joke about the remakes and how it's too many remakes, but like part of it is people that, the younger folks won't watch 40-year-old movies or whatever.
There were a couple that they were like fiercely like, of course we knew what Lord of the Rings is, but it was definitely it was a minority for sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I was in 4th grade, there were also a couple who were fiercely knowing what Lord of the Rings was, and that was about it. Let's keep going around. Haley Hobbs, how you doing, friend?
Just very wonderful. I don't have anything clever.
I like it. And J. Scotty St. Clair.
Green 4 standing by. Let's shamrock and roll.
Hey.
Very nice. Happy St. Patty's Day, everybody.
Everybody understood the assignment. Wore green.
Yeah, I got on camera and didn't have green, so I yelled to my wife and she threw a poncho over me. So that counts, right? This is kind of a green. It's a little green.
It's got
as long
some
as she
green
pinched you
it's in the
beforehand.
Green family.
Yeah. She pinched me beforehand.
Oh,
it was unrelated to St. Patty's Day.
Wah.
Save that for Patreon. That's where that belongs.
All right. Well, we have a 5-star review, like we like to start the show. This one is from the Haley Fan Club president.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, I love that. I love that's not just in the review. That is their name on iTunes. That is beautiful.
It's a commitment, and I appreciate it.
I love it. They say, this show is my go-to source for all my nerdy entertainment news. Haley is perfect, and I love all her insights. Jay is hilarious, and if I ever meet Simu Liu, I will be sure to tell him he has a long-standing beef with some dude in West Virginia. Space fact, astronomers estimate that the Milky Way smells like rum and tastes like raspberries based on the chemical compounds found. Love you 300.
This is a super fan.
Yeah, it's a super fan.
Thank you, super fan.
That's a Haley old school joke.
That's a deep cut.
Love you 300.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. It should be said the beef with Simu Liu completely one-sided. He doesn't know I exist, so he
might
no
someday.
Context for that.
That's why this person has to let him know.
Yeah. Now, if I ever met him, I wouldn't bring it up to him, obviously, because,
Why not?
But
what do you have to lose, Jay?
Coward.
Am I going to waste my one opportunity to start beef with him? Like, I feel like that's probably not the best use of my time. But if the message is relayed, I will happily discuss the beef with Simu Liu, which I will not back down from. He was 100% in the wrong. You know what you did.
Everybody write him and try to get him on our show. And we'll just discuss the beef with Jay. We won't talk to him about any projects or any
the tweet up,
Shang-Chi.
and I'll highlight the time that he tweeted it, and we'll discuss if he was right to do so, which he was not.
I love it.
Netflix season 3 of Beef is
just me and Simu Liu.
Jay and Simu.
You want to beef off? I'll beef off right now. That didn't.
Yes. Oh, it's perfect.
And I wanted to do a corned beef joke because but never mind, I give up.
We hit our beef joke quota achieved.
Yeah, we've reached it. We've hit it.
Yep. Where's the beef? We used it all. All right. Well, we're going to move on to our first story. Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another won Best Picture at the 98th Academy Awards, capping a ceremony that saw the film earn 6 Oscars, including Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and the inaugural Best Casting Award. Ryan Coogler's Sinners made history as the most nominated film in Academy Awards history, with 16 nominations, taking home 4 trophies, including Best Actor Actor for Michael B. Jordan, Best Original Screenplay for Coogler, and Cinematography for Autumn Durald Arkapaw, the first woman to win in that category. Jessie Buckley won Best Actress for Hamnet. Amy Madigan won Best Supporting Actress for Weapons, and KPop Demon Hunters took Best Animated Feature. Now that the dust has settled on yet another awards season, how do we feel about how things shook out?
Yeah, I think this year's Oscars was very predictable, and I don't say that as a bad thing, but I think that we are looking at the list of winners here, and I'm not terribly surprised or blown away by any of them. I think we kind of talked about all of them as being essentially like strong possibilities for each category. I think the one that probably had a little bit of the most drama around it was Best Actor, and part of that was just because it was a very crowded field, and then you had the whole sort of weird Timothée Chalamet ballet opera controversy, which he was just getting dunked on all night by Conan O'Brien about just constantly. So you had that as sort of like an aside, and it kind of threw it into chaos a little bit. And so Michael B. Jordan winning that award, that was definitely a highlight of the ceremony for me. I thought it was a really cool moment, and the place thought it was a cool moment. The place went absolutely nuts whenever he won. You can tell that there's a ton of respect, not just for him, but for Ryan Coogler too, in that room. Mm-hmm. I mean, the same thing when he won his Oscar too, which was really great to see. Coogler, such a talented guy, and what's really cool about him is he's just surrounding himself with more and more talent. It's not just Michael B. Jordan and his cinematographer. It's Ludwig Göransson too, who won for Best Score for Sinners. He was kind of brought to the fold by Coogler. He did the score for Black Panther, and he's already, I think this was his third Oscar. I mean, he's already passed up. He's passed up some big names to get to that point, and he's very young in his career. He's probably going to win another one next summer for The Odyssey, so he's ascending. And I just think that's really cool to just see, not just Coogler win, but see just so many people that he has sort of brought with him into the space win alongside him. He just seems to be a guy that people love to work with. So it was an interesting night, right? I mean, you definitely had a couple of the snubs. I think we could safely say that Timothée Chalamet and Marty Supreme was snubbed in this awards season, especially in the Oscars here. We all expected one battle after another to win Best Picture, which it did. And, ultimately, I think everybody got their flowers, right? I mean, I think we expected Paul Thomas Anderson to walk away with the awards that he walked away with. We expected Sinners to walk away with something, which it did. It walked away with, several awards, which was great. And then we expected awards like K-Pop Demon Hunters. Amy Madigan winning was really cool. I know that was another sort of kind of closely contested. Jessie Buckley wasn't really a surprise, but Amy Madigan winning was maybe not a surprise, but still kind of like a cool moment because we just weren't really, it was a little bit up in the air. So overall, I mean, I thought it was a good ceremony. I thought they were a little heavy on the bits at times, and I love Conan, but I thought sometimes they went a little too hard with the bridesmaids bits and just kind of drawing it out a little bit too much, kind of made the ceremony I kind of wanted a little bit more screen time and airtime on the speeches and stuff like that, a little bit less on the bits. But overall, I thought it was a good ceremony and not a lot of surprises, but a lot of great films took home awards.
Yeah, I agree. Now, describing the ceremony as predictable, I hesitate just a little bit because there were a few things that surprised me, but it largely went as expected. And I don't think there were any huge shakeups. But overall, I did enjoy the ceremony. And I think the highlights for me were actually some of the live performances, they did the live performance of I Lied to You from Sinners. That was just transcendent. It really did feel like the scene out of the movie brought to life on stage, even including the traveling through time and showing different cultures and whatnot. And then Golden by K-Pop Demon Hunters, even though it was a shortened version of that song, it was just so incredible to see it done that way. And I've had the song stuck in my head ever since. I mean, it's kind of been in the back of my mind ever since I saw the movie. But there were a couple of things that I was a little underwhelmed by, I'll say. And in the case of One Battle After Another, I think my slight preference would have been to see Sinners take it, because as much as I liked One Battle After Another, and I don't want to take anything away from it or Paul Thomas Anderson, I don't think it's his best film in his filmography. I look back to other films like There Will Be Blood, even The Phantom Thread kind of comes to mind. And to that end, this felt like a little bit of a Lifetime Achievement Award for Paul Thomas Anderson, just, considering his body of work. And that's kind of standard when it comes to the Oscars. But the one that really kind of disappointed me, it was Sean Penn. And I'm not going to say he didn't deserve the award because the energy and the role that his character serves in that movie, can't be denied. And he truly embodied a detestable human being. So, but the fact that he wasn't there and has just kind of been like, piss off Oscars for a few years now, and like that time and space could have been allotted to someone else that's never won an Oscar, it just rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. But apart from that, yeah, there were a lot of things to love. I didn't expect Amy Madigan to fully go the distance. I thought that was going to be a case where like, hey, it's horror, we're going to award you in all these other places, but absolutely love to see that. So yeah, all in all, I thought it was a good ceremony. There were a couple of things that brought it down for me, including some weird like production slip-ups. Like I felt like this was a little bit more of a sloppy production than we've seen in years past. Like there was one point in time where like a mic slid down on someone and you couldn't hear them, and it was like the camera was hanging on Conan while he was just standing there in a couple of instances. But those really are small potatoes in the great scheme of things. There were some great speeches, and even though it went as expected, that's we had a great stock of movies this year, and it's great to see them awarded, and I can't wait for next year.
With the Oscars, it's always interesting, like, what makes a good movie, you know what I mean? Like, and it's been such a long time coming that they start really acknowledging more of the genre films, and I do think it's interesting to, like, look at the lists we're talking here, and, Sinners being right there, in the conversation for Best Picture, and like, I had heard a lot of people, that would have voted for that over, I don't know, like, they're just such different movies, and in many ways, I think Sinners is better, and in other ways, I think that One Battle After Another is better. They're just so different, and I think One Battle After Another is more of the aesthetic of a traditional Oscar movie, though. So it ended up winning. But seeing Sinners in the conversation was cool because it is a vampire movie, a vampire movie done by the guy who just is working on a bunch of Marvel movies. Like, it's just nice to see those genre films get in the conversation. And we have Weapons taking home something, and K-Pop Demon Hunters too. Like, that is a kind of popcorn animated movie, and I know that sometimes the animated movies that win are a little more, less the crowd pleasers and more whatever you want to say about that, artistic or something. But K-Pop Demon Hunters is great and has some really cool elements to it. So it was just nice to see. It feels like this Oscar season was a little more open to. I was talking to Ashley about it. I think when we were doing our Blade coverage yesterday, and even things like Begonia. Like, there's a genre element to that. There's like you just these. It's just starting to seep into more of the upper crust of artistic culture. I think that's a lot of fun for people who've loved this kind of stuff for a long time. It being more accepted in an award season is cool.
This year's Oscars felt just way more balanced overall, I think. Last year, to me personally, was so disappointing with Anora winning, was it 6 awards last year? Which I just didn't agree with, me personally. That's my personal opinion, and I'm allowed to think that. And you're allowed to disagree with me, and that's okay, too.
How dare you?
Oh, somebody will be. And so, like, I liked that it kind of kept us guessing a little more this year. There was a little more back and forth. No shade to Paul Thomas Anderson. I would have liked Ryan Coogler to win Best Director. I thought Paul Thomas Anderson's comments at the microphone getting that were kind of...
It was weird.
There was a more elegant way to say, I deserved this, but that's what he said. And I
what did he say? It was like...
He was like, there's going to be no doubt in all of your minds that you should have gotten this, but there's no doubt in my mind that I deserved it. Yeah. And it has like stuck with me since Sunday. I'm like, God, that was like, damn, that was cold-blooded.
Yeah, that's rough.
You could have said something similar in a different way. Me personally feels that way. So it was kind of like,
It's just very ungracious. That's very
ungracious
thing to say.
It was a little bit. I was like, yeah, okay.
Sore winner is the term that comes to mind.
Yeah. And like Amy Madigan had such a heartfelt speech, and Jessie Buckley continued to overact while giving her speech, but it felt very heartfelt because I think she's an overactress personally. But, everybody for the most part seemed very thrilled with what happened. We had a tie, which was kind of exciting, and Kumail Nanjiani made one of the best jokes of the night because it was for short films or documentary shorts. I can't remember, but he said it's ironic that the short film is going to take twice as long, and I thought that was hilarious. So I don't know. It was fun. Conan was great. I think he had better material this year than last year. His opening with the weapon stuff was hysterical, but I agree about the production. The sound I thought was not very good most of the time, which I was like, God, guys, how long have you been doing this? 98 years? You can't figure out the sound? I wasn't disappointed with any of the wins. You know, if I picked something, like I thought Timothy would get Best Actor. I thought he was really spectacular in Marty Supreme. But I wasn't mad at all that Michael B. Jordan got it. So, you know, it was kind of like a nice breather after last year's kind of weird Oscars year. And I'm looking forward to next year because, I mean, we've got so many slam dunk looking movies coming out this year that I think next year's going to be really hard. It was fun. I had fun watching it.
There were definitely some like stiff moments too that felt like, I don't know if they just weren't rehearsed correctly or maybe it just didn't communicate. Like to me, like the Grogu bit that they had with Pedro Pascal and Sigourney Weaver just felt really stiff. Like I don't know, it's like they were trying to be like, it's Grogu, and everybody was kind of like, okay,
nice.
And they were like, he's over there, and she tried to do this thing about like, don't touch him, or it was like an alien bit or something, but like it didn't really land very well. I don't know. It was like there was moments like that where you were just like, this probably could have used a dress rehearsal, maybe like just one, like just to get your chemistry up a little bit. I don't know.
It's interesting you bring that up because I was going to ask, and another moment that unfortunately fell a little flat for me was the reunion of RDJ and Chris Evans on stage together. Like it was great
stiff
to see them, and Downey, you know, rocking the green for Doom, but he still felt so much like Tony Stark on that stage. It was just one of those.
The bit wasn't good. They should have written something different. It was like it wasn't funny, you know. Yeah,
my takeaway is that clearly Robert Downey Jr. and Channing Tatum are getting along on the set of Doomsday, though. So we'll see what projects spin off from that.
Except he called him Tanning Chatham,
which a lot of people were saying was that a spoonerism, but I thought it was intentional because it was like underwear, like that's what you tan in.
Oh, okay.
Potentially.
I didn't think they hung a lantern
right here.
I have not watched the entire Oscars. I've watched it in clips and such, and I found myself multiple times like watching 2 minutes of a 6-minute clip and getting bored in a lot of the comedy sketches that I kind of bumped into, and I was like, that's not good. So I the little bit I've seen of the Oscars, I haven't really. It did not capture my attention this year, but I was just interested in who won and such. But I don't know, for even Conan, and I love Conan, but like I started watching that opening and I was like, I'm not finding this funny. I don't know why. So
the weapons opening, I thought was amazing.
Yeah, I didn't love it.
Oh, I thought it was great.
But like I said, I watched like half of it and I was like, this isn't making me laugh. I don't know why.
Yeah, not to bring the mood down too much, but we didn't really talk about the In Memoriam, and I will say that was a little bit of a standout for me too. It just felt like such a step up from years past, and the fact that they spent so much time on Rob Reiner, and that was such a heartfelt tribute to him. But it's kind of crazy in a year where we lose Rob Reiner, Catherine O'Hara, Robert Redford, and Robert Duvall. It's like only 3 of those people get that kind of recognition. It was, it always is astounding to see how many people we lose. Yeah, exactly.
Lots of I love and hate it because it's like, oh, there's all those amazing people gone.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to our next story. Hot off the heels of his debut in HBO's Lanterns teaser trailer, Aaron Pierre has been officially confirmed by The Hollywood Reporter to reprise his Green Lantern role as John Stewart in James Gunn's Superman sequel, Man of Tomorrow. Joining returning cast members David Corenswet as Superman, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, and newcomer Lars Eidinger as Brainiac. With Gunn's Superman sequel slated for summer 2027 and Supergirl, Clayface, and Lanterns inbound this year, does Pierre's inclusion point to a shared universe that could potentially rival the MCU?
Well, I think there's still some proving ground before we get to that point, but hot off the heels of the Lanterns trailer, I don't have a super strong reaction to this because I recall I even said it last week, and I don't want to like pat myself on the back too much because I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but I thought we talked about it on the show. Like I was operating under the assumption that Aaron Pierre was going to be a part of Man of Tomorrow already. So to get this official confirmation is nice, but doesn't do a lot to move the needle for me. Now, I was already excited for the movie, and I think his inclusion speaks to more and more and more that while this will be a Superman sequel, Gunn's comments have already pointed to, he won't be the solo Man of Tomorrow that's featured in the title. So, I mean, we already know Lex is going to be pretty much a co-star in this thing, but I think there's an argument to be made that, other people, like, this could really be like your Dawn of Justice, but hopefully done better. And not to throw too much shade on that movie, because I do like the ultimate cut, but it still has major issues. But yeah, in terms of, looking at the slate ahead, we've got Supergirl, Clayface, and the show. I do think, I wouldn't say pressure, but I do think Gunn is feeling that he kind of has to prove what he's been setting up here, and he has to do it a little bit differently than Marvel, but he has to get there. So I really do think with the threat of Brainiac, this is going to be kind of your first foray for a Justice League. Again, the fact that we don't really know what the fate of Kyle Chandler's Hal Jordan or Guy Gardner at this point, but we do know that we're going to have John Stewart sticking around for quite some time. It does make me just question some things, and that makes me excited because John Stewart's my personal favorite Green Lantern, having grown up on the animated Justice League series and Batman series and Superman series that he popped up in. So yeah, like I said, not too strong of a reaction here, but kind of a foregone conclusion in my opinion. But I like the direction that we're heading here, and it makes me that much more excited for Lanterns.
It's not big news, but it's not even like this is gonna be the first leap from TV to movie for DC or DCU, because we've already had that happen. So in that way, James Gunn is fortunate because he doesn't have to worry about that, like Marvel had to worry about going from film to TV and then vice versa. He doesn't have to worry about that because he's actually done that fairly seamlessly, I'd say, so far, but mostly in kind of bit roles. So if Aaron Pierre's Green Lantern has a larger role, that'll be interesting to see, especially because the Superman movie is going to have a much larger audience, I'm just guessing, than the Lanterns show will. So will he be able to, it's the age-old question, will he be able to introduce this character that some people already know without it being cumbersome? I am sure it'll be just fine.
Yeah, we've talked about the cosmic angle here of Man of Tomorrow, how it seems like the villain is going to be a cosmic villain in some respect, and in Superman, the villain wasn't necessarily a cosmic villain, being Lex Luthor. It was very Earth-based, and it all kind of took place here. So to open it up cosmically, you do need to sort of bring in cosmic people, and who better for that than Green Lantern? So I'm hoping here that you don't really need a whole lot of setup, right? I mean, I think, and I don't think you will. I think you can probably safely watch, and, Gunn talked about this with Peacemaker and Superman and things like that in the past, that you could pick up Superman and watch it without having watched Peacemaker. You can watch Man of Tomorrow probably without having watched Peacemaker Season 2, right? Like this kind of idea that he can keep his projects separate enough to where the diehards can do their thing, but if you're there watching the movie in the theater, you see it's Green Lantern, you don't necessarily need to know all of the backstory of Green Lantern for that to work. And it does seem like, at least with Superman, there was that, for better or worse, depending on how you felt about it, there was a sort of tossing you in the deep end with the characters, and I kind of wonder if that's the direction that we're headed in for Man of Tomorrow as well, and it does sort of seem to be that way. I think when we talked about Superman and we talked about casting, there was a lot of conversation about another one. Like, it was like always like, this guy was cast as this guy. It was like every week it was like Metamorpho and Hawk Girl and Green Lantern, and now we've got this guy. And it was just like every single week we were like, and I think there were multiple times where we on this show said, like, raised the question, are there too many characters for this thing? Like, are we going to be able to tell a seamless story with this many characters? Now, ultimately, I think it worked. I think it was fine, but you are being thrown in, and it seems like that's probably what's going to happen here too. I think you are just going to get tossed right back into the mix here with Green Lantern, and you're just going to have to hang on and go. And that's just kind of what we have to get used to with Gunn. He's a very much just sort of, here it is, here's the characters, buy in, let's go to the races. There's not a lot of description going on in the background, which can be fine. But I think that's just, we're setting up for that, I think, in Man of Tomorrow too.
Jay, something that came to mind when you were referring to the plethora of news that we had around this time during Superman's production, in addition to all the casting, like, I remember one of the things we frequently said on the show, like, James Gunn needs to shut up. Just like, stop talking. You're talking way too much. And one thing I have noted is, like, whether I highly doubt he's listening to the show, but if he is, good on you. but he has been a lot more quiet. And I kind of wondered, is that because it's a reaction to what's going on with the WB ownership and he doesn't really know where he's going to land with Paramount and all that? Could be very, very likely. But I also think there's a strong likelihood that, whether or not he worked during the writer's strike, I'm not here to cast any speculation on that, but I think he is a little more pressed for time and has to hone in and focus on this thing. So I don't think it's going to feel slapdash, or at least I hope that's not the case, but I think we can look to just how much he has on his plate is starting to weigh on maybe why he's not piping up so much, because either that or he's learned his lesson, which I don't know.
I don't know. He's done a lot of things. I know he's the head of the studio now, which is different. But it didn't ever feel like he was this talkative when he was working for Marvel. And it just seemed like they had someone over there keeping it. Like, oh, you shouldn't say that. Like keeping a little PR and management happening. And it doesn't seem like they've had that. Maybe they're instituting some policies. Who knows? But it's tough because he's the head of it. So if he wants to do what he wants to do, he's going to do it. This news excites me. I love that deep, hot, wet continuity. And this is just more of it in a different universe. So I'm down. I haven't been able to use that phrase in many universes, so it's exciting. All right, moving on to our next story. The Doomsday festivities have officially commenced as Denis Villeneuve shared the first teaser for Dune Part 3 earlier today, currently slated to release the same day as Avengers Doomsday, December 18th, 2026. The heavy and moody 2-minute and 30-second look showcased returning stars Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, and Rebecca Ferguson, as well as Anya Taylor-Joy as Paul's sister Aaliyah, a role that was reduced to a cameo in the last film, and the seeming return of Jason Momoa's Duncan, Idaho. Newcomer Robert Pattinson also pops up as the villainous Scytale, a character featured in Frank Herbert's Dune Messiah. We know Villeneuve will be making changes from the source material for his finale, but did this trailer make the needed impact for both book readers and film fans alike?
I thought this trailer was fantastic. I'll start with the music because one of the big parts of the first two Dune movies is Hans Zimmer's score, and it's similar but very different in this one in a way that I think really elevates the trailer and really does set the tone. Dune Messiah, things get crazy. You can go read it for yourself if you want to know, but I think we get it. I think we understand what we're going for. What's going to be interesting is how Denis chooses to wrap it up, because this could have been the end of the story. Of course, there's several more books after it, and it goes on and on and on and gets even weirder. But Dune Messiah is dark, and it takes quite a few different turns. So I'm very much looking forward to it. I thought it looked great. I thought it was consistent. I'm really excited. I'm going to have a hard time choosing. It's probably going to be Avengers Doomsday first, but it's like, what do I go see first on Doomsday? Maybe I do a double feature. I don't know. I'm really excited for Dune Part 3, and Robert Pattinson, I think, made me stop in my tracks the most because he looks just like Sting, or is it Sting from the 1984 one?
He does Sting, favor right? Sting quite a bit.
He looks just like him, and I was like, they did that on purpose. I loved it. I'm super stoked.
Yeah, trailer looks insanely epic. I mean, just the scale of the movie, which, when you saw Dune 2, that was what just really blew everybody away about it, was the absolute massive scale of the movie that you could feel. And this feels like that. And, when you're looking at the story, it's such a tricky story to adapt because you have Dune and, you have the first two movies, which take a crack at that. You have Dune Messiah. But then, to say that the things get weird after Dune Messiah is an understatement. And there's all kinds of controversy too. If you don't know anything about that, Frank Herbert wrote kind of the books that people read, but then there's all of these other books that his son wrote later that people who read Dune will tell you are not canon, that they're bad, that they're not actually what happens in the story, that they shouldn't be considered part of the main timeline. And so you've got all of these weird questions about what's canon, what's not. can we take this storyline seriously? Did Frank actually mean for this one to happen and not that? Like, there's all of these insane conversations that people have online about these like million Dune books about which ones actually are the story and which ones are not. And so to take that and somehow boil that down into a trilogy is already difficult. But to take the Dune Messiah storyline and sort of boil it down to a conclusion, that has always made the most sense for this franchise, based on your young stars, your young cast, your filmmaker who probably doesn't want to take this into a longer thing that spins off into more and more movies. There needs to be some sort of epic conclusion to this thing to not wear out its welcome. So, I mean, I have extremely high hopes for it. I think it can end up in that sort of like great trilogy Mount Rushmore that we talk about when we talk about great trilogies by the time it's all said and done, just based on how the first two have went. And so as we're looking ahead to this December and Dune's Day, and I think we've talked about it on this show before, you know, at this moment, Dune is the only film that has the rights to show its film in IMAX currently on that December, on those weekends. All right. It has reserved IMAX. It was shot in IMAX. It was made for IMAX. Doomsday was not. Doomsday was not shot in the same format as Dune. And so that's got me questioning a little bit about the validity of Doomsday, right? When we're kind of looking at this thing, and is it actually going to happen? I mean, I don't know if I would put down in pen that Avengers Doomsday is going to come out on that date. I could foresee a situation where Marvel sits down and says, is this truly the best thing for our franchise to take our thing and put it up on the same weekend with no IMAX screens that bring in all that premium money against Timothée Chalamet and Florence Pugh and Zendaya and Robert Pattinson and this kind of like epic conclusion to this thing? Like, I don't think that's a great idea. I know we've talked about Barbenheimer. This is not the same thing. This is not counter-programming. These are the Venn diagram of the people who want to see these two movies is a circle. So you're gonna end up maybe shooting yourself in the foot a little bit if you're Marvel Studios. And I would imagine there are conversations going on right now, and maybe partially why we haven't seen a full trailer either, about should we vacate that date? Should we push back a month or two to try to make way and then maybe have the opportunity to have those IMAX screens? So that is something to keep an eye on, and I would not completely commit to the reality of Doomsday quite yet.
Hashtag not my Butlerian revolution. That was a real deep cut for the ones that are really in the know, the Fadakin, if you will. But no, actually, this trailer was the breath of fresh air that I kind of needed, the vote of confidence that I was looking for, because I've been excited for this movie, but I've been a little bit nervous about it because I didn't know how necessary it was. Like, looking at Dune 1 and Dune Part 2, just like what a 1-2 punch that so epically and faithfully adapted the source material and really brought Frank Herbert's vision and world to life. So I didn't know how much we needed this movie, but I think this trailer got across exactly why we need this movie. And why did Frank, write Dune Messiah? It's because he wrote Dune with an intention to kind of demystify like the Messiah and the hero and the tropes that come with that, and that war is actually a bad thing. So I think the message got across pretty clear for people that watched Dune Part 1 and Part 2, especially if they were paying attention, but they did have that kind of popcorn factor that the message might have been lost on some people. So how do you say, no, this person that you're hailing up as a hero is actually this terrible figure that's responsible for so much chaos, death, and destruction? You do it with a film like Dune Messiah. And based on what I saw, I still think there are going to be major departures from the source material, and Denis is kind of telling his own story, but it feels like it's there in spirit in terms of taking this character of Paul and kind of bringing him back down. But the parts that excite me are the parts that are different. Like Dune 2 landed in a very different place than the books when it came to the character of Chani. And there were little flashes here and there that made me very encouraged and suspicious about what the trajectory between Paul and Chani's characters are going to be. So yeah, everybody's kind of, brought up the point that Dune gets very weird very fast, but I think this is going to be the best of both worlds. There are some nods to returning characters and some of the technology and the cultures that are that exist within the Dune verse that haven't been touched on yet. But I thought this was a great first look and just ratcheted up my anticipation for this thing. Now, to address what you were bringing up there, Jay, about, I do think somebody will move. And originally I thought it was going to be Dune, but more and more I agree with you. I think Avengers Doomsday will be the one to move. Dune has planted its flag, and the fact, nothing against the teaser trailers that we got beforehand, but this felt like just so much more of like a fell, incompetent, swift move to me. Decisive.
New Year's Eve, Doomsday. Let's do it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Going 1 week later would probably be like hitting the holiday thing would probably be smart. I don't know. All right. Well, coming up after the break, we got the lightning round. Last week's big Firefly tease is revealed. The Buffy reboot is not moving forward at Hulu, and A Quiet Place Part 3 and more. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Multiverse News. We have a Patreon, and Jay Sisson's going to tell us about it.
Do you have $4 in your wallet or in your bank account? Times are tough, but if you have $4 and you're like, what should I spend this $4 on? Like, you're looking at your wallet and it's just, you got 4 Georges staring up at you and you just don't really have a place for those $4. Consider using those $4 at patreon.com/multiverse newscast, where
all
you
about
can,
the Washingtons, baby.
where you can access exclusive episodes, you can access exclusive polls. Haley Hobbs will personally send you a sticker in the mail, which you can put on anything that you want to put on. And you get to support the show, which is the best reward of them all. We're not raising the price. It'll always be $4. We'd love to have you over there. So if you like this show, if you've been sticking with us for a while and you just want to do that little bit of extra to get involved, please go to patreon.com/multiverse newscast. It toss us $4 a month. Think of it as like a little tip, like $1 per episode, and it keeps the thing running.
Yeah, and this week our patron of the week is Jazz Viz. Thank you, Jazz. A very fine member of the Stranded Panda community.
I'm tempted to do the huge again, but I did that last week.
It's all right. They forgot. You can do it again.
I forgot.
All right, I put out a Spotify poll, and this was me genuinely being curious about the listeners of this show. Are you a Firefly fan? Was the question. 12% of you said yes. 5% of you said no, and 82% of you have never seen it. I'm surprised.
Niche.
Not too crazy surprised, but I am surprised.
I'm not that surprised because I'm trying to think of like people in my life, even people that are my friends that are into like nerd stuff. I have very few people in my life that I could count on one hand that watched Firefly. Now those that watched it loved it.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be a show that has a core fan base, but a very small core fan base.
It's one of those things that, like, when I see con groups or like when I go to cons or whatever, like I still see Firefly cosplay like all the time, and like alts Firefly cosplay. It just seems like it's not necessarily that it's got the broadest fan base. Obviously, it didn't survive, but it had such a big DVD fan base. And it also was the time of DVDs. So it's I understand that like a lot of our listeners maybe a little bit younger and just like just barely missed it, because I think that's just for my age though. I felt like everyone I knew was a Firefly fan. Every geeky person I knew who liked geeky media was a Firefly fan. And so like it's crazy to me that 82% have never seen it. You should. It's really great. It's on Disney Plus.
Any of the streamers? Oh, okay. There you go.
I think it's on Disney Plus. Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. I was watching it. Started watching it this week with my wife because she's never seen it as well. But it's great. It's just a great show. Great show, and it's only 14 episodes in a movie, so it's like if you're looking for something fun to watch, highly recommend it. But yeah, that's surprising to me, but people who have seen it and liked it, like it a lot. It was one of my biggest fandoms for a while. I used to say Serenity was my favorite movie. It stayed in that position for a long time, but it has since been supplanted, but only by a little. I do love it.
You know what else they call fireflies? Lightning bugs, and I think it's time for the lightning round.
Hey, that's what you call a transition,
That's
baby.
a good transition, man. And this is the segment where I'm going to read a story, and one of us will shout out our names to claim that story, and only they will respond to it, unless, once per lightning round, you would like to claim a rebuttal and respond to a story. Up first, Kate Winslet has joined the cast of Andy Serkis's upcoming Lord of the Rings prequel, The Hunt for Gollum, in an undisclosed role.
Scotty, I wish this did something to move the needle for me. Kate Winslet seems like such an obvious and natural choice for Middle-earth and that world. But yeah, there's just been nothing about this movie that has instilled much confidence in me. And I, as much as I love Andy Serkis, he really, as a director, he's been unproven and kind of left me wanting in multiple regards here. So the word on the street, the rumor, the scuttlebutt is that this is going to kick off a whole new Lord of the Rings trilogy, which doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, it's an IP that they're obviously going to want to milk, but I just, I tolerate the Hobbit films, but they don't hold a candle to that original Lord of the Rings trilogy or the books. So let's maybe take a beat and map this out a little bit better, but keep Kate Winslet around because she, like I said, seems so obvious and such a natural fit.
Man, I hope that's not true. I hope that they're not kicking off a new trilogy. It's really just doesn't feel time to do that.
Yeah, but the kids in your class don't know anything about it.
That's true, but you're
time.
just not, call me an old guy, but you're just not going to do what you did 25 years ago in the current world. You're going to cut corners. They were out there in Spain forging swords in, Toledo, Spain, in the forges to make swords for the movie. I mean, making chainmail by hand, it's not going to be the same. But I'm hoping that this is just some sort of a prequel and, we sort of get younger Aragorn or whatever, and it's just kind of like we play in that world a little bit, but you're probably right. Everything gets rebooted, so, Paramount's getting that WB IP, and they're like, get me Lord of the Rings. Like, we're going to make another one.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming with Andy Serkis involved, this is still in the same universe from the prior movies. And it being Hunt for Gollum.
Ian McKellen's a part of it too.
He's teased that he's coming back, and Elijah Wood has also teased that he's got a minor appearance as Frodo in some form.
So to me, if they're doing a new trilogy, they're not doing the Lord of the Rings again. They're going to just do some different trilogy.
It's like while the Lord of the Rings was happening, off to the side, all of this was happening.
Well, it depends on what Warner Brothers owns, because they own some of the IP, and
That's
Amazon
right.
owns some of it.
It's a little funny.
No, that's fair.
Very piecemealed.
That's right. The TV rights Amazon has.
Well, and it's rights to certain parts of what Tolkien wrote, I think, too.
Interesting.
It's
bad, and it's going to be weird. And I guess my point is, if they're keeping the same universe, they're not going to reboot it. I think I almost feel like it's time to reboot it. If all your kids in your classes don't know what Lord of the Rings is, it's like time for that generation to get theirs. Or in the next 10 years, we'll probably get some redo of that or some new series. But it's like it's tough when so many people still love the old thing, and they're still making sequels or prequels to that. It's going to be strange.
# not my Middle Earth.
Yeah. Netflix has closed the deal for K-pop Demon Hunters directors Maggie Kang and Chris Applehans to return to direct a sequel as part of a new multi-year writing and directing pact.
Scotty, yeah, this is pretty much a no-brainer. I'm a little surprised it didn't happen sooner, but the fact that they are alluding to a multi-year writing and directing pact, I think that's probably why it took as long as it did. They were kind of probably waiting to hedge their bets around an Oscar win, rather, and make them more valuable and more viable as partners with Netflix. But that being said, my hope for K-pop Demon Hunters sequels is that I really liked that first film. It's very understandable why it got all the acclaim. I hope they learn their lesson from the first one, have the catchy songs, keep the animation the same, make the characters endearing. But even though it's called K-pop Demon Hunters, there was one of the trio that was really the main character. I would like to see one of the other two get a little bit more of a focus and, just pack a little bit more of an emotional punch and do something for the adults. Great movie, but yeah, other films have been able to toe that line between being a kid's movie and something for everybody. little bit better in my opinion.
During an interview with Hello Sydney, Scream writer and Scream 7 director Kevin Williamson said that he does not expect to write or direct Scream 8, the potential follow-up for Paramount.
No thoughts on this, Matt, since we've been covering the Scream movies?
Cora had an opinion.
Yeah, sorry. I was distracted by my own poor read, and I just didn't jump in. I think this is, unfortunately, as much as I enjoy all the Scream franchise, we just got done covering it on Bingers, I do feel like we're getting to a place where, like, the old needs to die. I think this one particularly was a little bit too much lived in its own shadow a little bit. And I think that in my opinion, the prior few movies had really proven themselves, and unfortunately that might not have happened box office wise, and then with some behind the scenes drama there, they decided to go back to that old well. So I think it's probably right that Kevin Williamson moves on and someone else takes the reins, but hopefully if they try to reboot again or do something different with the franchise as they did with the last few, it'll be more sustainable, I guess. Is Hello Sydney like a Scream podcast?
That is my assumption.
That's great. Great name.
I don't know why, and I know it's spelled wrong, and it's not spelled like Sydney, Australia, but in my head I thought it was like a morning show in Australia. Like, hello, Sydney, like Good Morning America.
Good eye, Sydney. What's your favourite scary movie?
It's like they just love it down there.
I read this all when I practiced for the show, and it didn't dawn on me that was a Scream reference. Hello, Sydney. Hello, Sydney. Until then, yeah. Okay. Nathan Fillion revealed at AwesomeCon this weekend that an animated Firefly series is in advanced development based on the sci-fi franchise, with original cast members returning to voice their characters. Matt, it's got to be me. It's gonna be me. I'm underwhelmed by this announcement, and unfortunately, I think it's because of the hype they put on it. Like, they spent weeks building up to this to announce that they have an animated series that they are still working on a deal for. Like, they don't have a home for, was what they said. They said they have the cast, they have the animation studio that's agreed to do it, and they started like pre-visualization work. They showed some images from what the character models would look like. They have writers who wrote on the original Firefly. They said they have Joss Whedon's blessing, but they still don't have a home for it. So I'm concerned that it's just not going to happen. Yeah. And the fact that it's animated, as a Firefly fan, I am a little less like I was just I was pumped that it might be something, a live action and a real successor to the original. And because of some of the actors involved, it seems like it might be a prequel to some of the things that happened in the original series. So it's a little weird. It's a little weird. I don't know that it's something that if they had just come out and said all at once, hey, we're making a Firefly animated series and it happens during this time period and it's going to be really cool and fill out some story, I would have been excited. But because of the way they teased it so hard, it had me up here, and then this was a little bit of a letdown. So it's a bummer because I want to be excited for a Firefly thing. It's a Firefly thing.
I wondered how the fandom was reacting to this. Just seeing what it was, and originally when they were teasing, I was like, man, it's going to be like a Verizon commercial or something. Like, it's not even going to be like anything. And then they're really going to go absolutely nuts because they're going to be so mad. So then for an animated thing, and that was my first thought, was like, man, if you've got the whole cast on board, why are you not just doing a live action thing? Like, if everybody already is in and wants to do it, and it's just, and that's what the answer is. So I was curious to hear what you had to say and just what fans of the thing had to say about if they were pumped for this, or if they were sort of like, nah, or if they're kind of taking the temperature of the fandom a little bit.
The original show was canceled because it's just too expensive to make, and the special effects are too expensive. With today's technology and with Disney owning it, like you'd think they could, but I think they just have other things they want to spend that money on and spend that technology on.
Well, my thought is, what do you mean you don't have a home for it? You have all these things going on, so somebody's paying for it, which it has to be Disney. Why isn't Hulu going to be the home for it? I thought that was very odd.
Right. It sounds like they're shopping it, I guess. I guess right now it's a pitch, probably. It's like, hey, we've got all these people on board. We got all the cast. We got all the... And now they're pitching it out to, studios or streamers. Though. Yeah. I think that's the thing. Most of the time, this sort of stuff happens behind the scenes, and we don't know about it. And then they just announce it once the deal is made. And they're announcing that they don't have a deal. And that's not really... Because they want the fan base to... Yeah, well...
Tell them you want this.
That's exactly what it is.
That you want this.
They want. They know that what sustained their. It's what got them a movie. I mean, they made 14 episodes of TV show. It got canceled, and then the fan base rioted until Fox agreed to make a movie. And so now they're thinking, well, we want to make another thing. We'll get the fan base involved and convince them. And I don't know that that's going to work this time. And if it does, unfortunately, it's just not exactly what I want to see. But I will watch it, and I'll be excited for it. And I do highly recommend the show. It's so good. I've just been watching. It's so good. Another thing about the expense of the show, the original series, the ship is very big, and they built the ship, which is really cool. It is two different stories, and they built the entire ship. So that each story is actually like a full set, and it's amazing. You watch the first episode or the movie, they walk through the entire ship, and it just makes you feel like you're there. You're inside the ship, moving around and walking around these corridors, and it does not feel confined at all. And I just think it's really cool, but that's expensive to maintain a set that's that big, and stuff like that doesn't happen these days very well. So. All right, Hulu. It's a bad day to be an old school Joss Whedon fan. It's been a bad decade to be a Joss Whedon fan, but now this week was particularly hard because our next story is Hulu has opted not to proceed with its Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot, starring and executive produced by Sarah Michelle Gellar. She broke the news to fans on Instagram Saturday morning. Yeah, so I just can't believe that these two things are announced, and we're talking about them on the same episode of Multiverse News, because it's just two projects that, and one is not canceled, but it's kind of a letdown, and this one sounds like it's currently not moving forward. There was some of the stuff I read said it was like issues with the script and things they wanted changed. Hulu didn't want to go for it with the way they've structured the script. Apparently there's seeing some of this, like, I don't know how I'm reading on fan pages at this point, so some of this may not even be canon, as it were, and by that I mean this might be fake news. But so some things have said like they had a lesser role for Sarah Michelle Gellar in the first episode, and like Hulu came back like, no, we want like to do a Sarah Michelle Gellar Buffy show, and like they're trying to like build a new show about a new Slayer, and she's a character, not the character, And that's one thing I heard. And Chloe Zhao had a quote that was like, "I'm not surprised it didn't go," and I'm like, that's a bummer, Chloe Zhao. And by the way, Chloe Zhao was the director of the pilot that was we talked about it last week.
You're right.
It still feels weird.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's cool. She's like an Oscar-winning director, did the Eternals and all this stuff, and like it's just a project she cared about, because I think she was probably the right age for it and loved it like other fans do. I think it's really, really cool. But anyway, really bummer that's not proceeding. I have been saying for a very long time that anything in that universe would be welcome.
There is an article, I think it's basically on the front page of, I think, Deadline right now. I think it's called like Autopsy of Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot or something like that. And it kind of goes into the reason, like it's an expose basically on like what happened. And Sarah Michelle Gellar, she was not shy about it. She said it's because of one executive that it's not happening. Like she went on the offensive a little bit about it. She's been doing the rounds because she's in Ready or Not 2 that's coming out this weekend. So she's been on all the talk shows and everything like that. And she's been taking her shots about it. She's almost acting like, hey, we wanted it, it's just they didn't, and that's why it's not happening. So it's pretty disappointing if it's true.
It was Josh D'Amaro. He was like, Buffy Land, Buffy the Ride. I just don't see it. Not gonna
happen. It's so sad. No, please let that be why. Paramount Pictures is not moving forward with Max Landis' G.I. Joe movie, sources confirmed to The Hollywood Reporter.
Just raining no's this week, aren't we, guys?
Just axe them all, baby.
Well, this no is good news in this case, but I would like this news a lot more if it had a follow-up sentence and they are deciding to move forward with, what's his name?
Danny McBride.
Danny McBride. I just had it on the tip of my tongue. They are moving forward with Danny McBride's version, which again, I kind of pitched as maybe a likening to Barbie, where, be meta about it, acknowledge that they're action figures.
Yeah, we did talk about this, and I think that if they're going to go with one, I think that's the better option. I agree with you completely, Skates. The next book in the Reign of the Empire trilogy from Star Wars will be Edge of the Abyss by Rebecca Roanhorse. It is set 1 year before the first season of Andor and will feature Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and Saw Gerrera again. The book comes out on September 15th.
Haley, in an effort from a listener to try to put more book news, this is a couple weeks late, but I put it in today. This is part of a trilogy called The Reign of the Empire. The first one was The Mask of Fear by Alexander Freed. It was really, really good. It's very political. It's very the rebellion beginning kind of thing. So if you loved Andor, you will probably like these books as well. It's also been announced that some characters from Andor will make appearances in this book, like Luthen Rael, like Clea, who I loved from Andor. So hop over and check those out. They're really good.
Paramount has officially greenlit A Quiet Place Part 3. John Krasinski will return to direct, and cast members Emily Blunt, Cillian Murphy, Millicent Simmons, and Noah Jupe will all return for the sequel. A number of new additions to the cast have also been made, including Sinners villain Jack O'Connell, Jason Clarke, and Love Lies Bleeding breakout Katie O'Brien.
I don't have anything to say about this, but how dare you call Katie O'Brien a breakout from Love Lies Bleeding? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you guys. I'm just kidding.
Good point.
Yeah, I think this was a little bit of an inevitability. The movies have always done reasonably well. I like the movies quite a bit. But yeah, looking at the new additions here, I think they're pretty natural fits, like especially Jason Clarke. Like I could just kind of see him in his Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes era, kind of living in that post-apocalyptic world. But Jack O'Connell, I like him. But after Sinners and then 28 years later, The Bone Temple, which I thoroughly enjoyed, I just kind of hope we see something different from him. I hope he's not a villain this time around and can show us a different gear. But he's probably the villain.
Jason Ritter and Patrick Wilson have signed on to the cast of HBO's Last of Us Season 3. Wilson will recur as Abby's father, Jerry. Ritter will play Hanley, a Washington Liberation Front soldier.
Jay, these are good castings, especially what's his name? You just said it, Patrick Wilson. He's from The Conjuring, and has been in that franchise. So yeah, these are good castings. It is increasingly looking like The Last of Us Season 3 will be the last season that HBO makes of that show, and will wrap up that show as we know it. There's currently not a Last of Us 3 video game, so it seems like maybe we're going to hit the brakes a little bit on that production after this season.
The White Lotus Season 4 has added several new members to the cast, including Max Greenfield, Kumail Nanjiani, speaking of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Chloe Bennett, Charlie Hall, and Jared Paul.
Haley, hell yeah, that's great. I'm really excited for this season of The White Lotus after really kind of wanting to write it off from Season 3. So Season 4 sounds very promising.
I liked Season 3. But fine. I'm sure it's a long talk that we could have. First looks at the upcoming teaser trailer for Spider-Man Brand New Day have begun dropping on Spider-Man social media accounts in short clips, with a full trailer confirmed for Wednesday morning.
AKA when you're listening to this.
Haley, I said it before the show, and I'm going to say it again. Sony saw what Marvel did with Doomsday, and they're like, let's do that, but let's do it worse. Like, this is a terrible campaign. Like, this is not a good idea. What are you doing? Like,
they're like,
some
the youth
tiny
love
clips
short
on
clips.
Instagram from people that nobody knows. It's just bad. Like, I had to just really look for them to even see them, and then I was like, I don't care. Just drop the trailer. what was this, Tom's idea? Like, don't do this again.
And at this point, like, you don't even know. I keep seeing clips from it, and I'm like, that's AI for sure. Like, but then I find out, like, nope, that's an actual clip. Like, so it's just at this point, like, I don't know what's real and what's not, and I'm not going to go digging for those clips. Just give me a trailer if you're going to give me a trailer. Stop this. They're like, kids want their TikToks. Just give them the short content. No, we want to watch a trailer, damn it.
Totally agree with all of that. And I think the only real story here is we're going to get Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer tomorrow. Like, that's the real story here.
Right after we release this episode. You'll probably see the Spider-Man trailer before you listen to this episode.
And if you listen to this first, you rule.
Feige, right. You bastard. The war continues.
I'll get you next time, Feige.
Kevin's going to be on that season 3 of Beef with you and Simu.
Yeah, I'll take them both on.
James Gunn too. Don't forget James.
James feeds us a little more than Kevin does.
Yeah, me and James are cool at the moment.
Okay.
But, things can change.
Well, if you do want to see a reaction to the Spider-Man trailer, we will obviously be hopping on that real quick over on the MCU cast. So go to the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast and check that out if you want to. Check it out, subscribe, all those things, because I'm excited to talk about Spider-Man. I don't know who all we're going to be able to get to do it because they never tell us when these things are dropping. They just said early tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. But join us over there. And that's our show. That's the stories. Let's tell everybody where they can find us online, what's going on. Jay Sisson?
You can find me at Commute the Podcast every Monday, so please subscribe over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Haley Hobbs.
Brian and I read some Daredevil comics because that's coming out next week. We're really excited for that. You mentioned, Jay, earlier, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, and I'll be covering that over on Bill and Ashley's Terror Theater with those two, not this week, but the week after. So I'm excited about that and watch people explode. Good times. And Sarah Michelle Gellar is in it.
Yeah.
And Elijah Wood.
Lord of the Rings too. It's all full circle.
It's all connected.
And J. Scotty St. Clair.
Part 2 of my conversation with the folks over at Book Talk, covering Catching Fire, the film as well as the book, is available now wherever you get your podcasts. So go check that out if you're a fan of anything Hunger Games.
Sweet. And we'll be back right here. Like I said, check out that Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast for that Spider-Man coverage and the Daredevil coverage. Really excited. Going to be an exciting few weeks over there. And we'll be back here on Multiverse News. Peace.
You stay classy, Multiverse.
Hey, thanks for listening to Multiverse News, or watching it, or whatever you're doing, eyeballs or ear holes, whichever thing. We do this show every week, and we appreciate you listening. StrandedPanda.com is where you can find all of our podcasts, and thank you for listening. Check us out wherever you get podcasts. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the little bell icon, whatever you have on whatever service you're doing. Rate us, like us. We're really thirsty. That's what I'm saying.